Read the problem below, then use what you learned about calculating volumes of prisms to solve the problem. What is the volume of the camping tent shown below? Look at this camping tent. Okay, if you can find the volume before we continue with this video, that'd be great. So for those who want to try that, that's great. For those who are confused, we're going to model it, we're going to break it down, and then we can solve it and figure this out. Okay? But as you can see, think about which are the two bases, the two parallel bases. Let's model it. You can think about this figure as a combination of two solids, a triangular prism on top of a rectangular prism. See it? This is the tent, triangular prism on top of the rectangular prism. If I just sliced it like that, right? Let's solve it. You can find the volume of the triangular prism and the volume of the rectangular prism and add the volumes together. Don't forget the volume of a triangular prism, area of the triangular base, times height of the prism. Right? Base times height. And the base is a triangle. For the rectangular prism, area of the rectangular base times height of the prism. Because in this case, the base is a rectangle. Okay? Now we're going to solve questions number 9 through 14. Now question 9. Look at, model it. What are the dimensions of the rectangular prism? Label the figure to show the dimensions. What is its volume? Show your work. Question 10. What are the dimensions of the base of the triangular prism? Label the figure to show the dimensions. Then explain how you found the height of the triangular base. Question 11. What is the volume of the triangular prism? Show your work. Question 12. What is the volume of the tent? Question 13. Sam says that he can find the volume of the tent without breaking it up into two different solids. Explain how. And question 14. How do you find the volume of a figure made up of two or more prisms? Pause this video. Go back if you're stuck on, if you don't remember what questions 9 through 11 are. There they are, but you can always pause this. Take your time. Solve them. I would solve these three first. Obviously, take your time on them. Then you can play the video and see the answers, and then we can go into these three and play the video, and then you can pause the video, solve them, and then we can give you the answers. Take your time on this. Okay? Anytime you need to go back, you can just go back in this video. Let's look at number 9. What are the dimensions of the rectangular prism? Should be 6 feet by 8 feet by 2 feet. Let's look at that. 6 feet by 8 feet by 2 feet. 6 by 8 by 2. Remember, if I close this, you would see it again. 6 by 8 by 2. Okay? What is its volume? What is base times height? So you multiply 6 times 8 times 2 and you get 96 cubic feet. Remember cubic because you're multiplying 3 dimensions. Okay? Feet times feet times feet. Feet to the 3rd power. Again, base, it's a rectangular prism, which means it's 6 by 8. It's 6 by 8. And then times the height. 6 by 8. And then times the height. Okay? Good. Question 10. What are the dimensions of the base of the triangular prism? Label the figure to show the dimensions. Well, and we're going to go to the figure to show them. The base of the triangle measures 6 feet. The height to that base is 3.5 feet. Let's look at this. The base is 6 feet. The height, oh, I take that back. Hold up. The base is 6 feet right here. And the height is 3.5 feet. 3.5 feet. I want you to think for a sec How do you know that this is 3.5 feet? Let me use a different color so we can see it and make it thicker. Here's the height of the triangle, right? This is the triangle. Can everybody see that? Alright, it's also on this page. Alright, boom, 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 and there's the height right here. So the question is, how do we know it's 3.5? Well, they're giving us a clue here. Let me just do this. That's the height, right? So they're telling us that this length of the height of the whole tent from the base to its peak, top right here, is 5.5 feet. But we also know that this height right here, let me use a different color so you guys can see that, blue. This height right here is 2 feet. So you take away this 2 feet, and what do you have left? 3.5, right? 3.5. 5.5 minus 2 is 3.5. Okay? So, how do you find the height? We just explained it. The height of the tent is 5.5 feet, as we know. The height of the rectangular prism is 2 feet. So the height of the triangular base is the difference of those two heights, which makes it 3.5 feet. Question 11. What is the volume of the triangular prism? And show your work. Well, think about that. Base times height, right? Volume equals base times height. The base for a triangular prism is 1/2 times base times height. And then you take that and you multiply by the height of the whole figure, but we'll get to that later. Right now, let's do the first one. So base times height, there it is, and 1/2 times base times height, right? Then times the height, just like we talked about. So when you multiply all them, you get 84 cubic feet. Okay? Question 12. What is the volume of the tent? Well, now you take the 96 plus the 84, add them, and you get 180 cubic feet. Remember, it's cubic feet. Okay? You got the 84, and you got the 96, and you combine them, and you get 180. Sam says that he can find the volume of the tent without breaking it up into two different solids. First of all, that is correct. Explain how. Well, think of it as one prism with a base that is a pentagon. Use the formula volume equals base times height, where B is the area of a pentagon. Think about how to find the area of a pentagon, right? Let me erase this for a sec. Okay, and notice that the base here is a pentagon. Boom, 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 boom. How do you find area of a pentagon? It's on your reference sheet. Okay. And by the way, the area of a pentagon is not on your reference sheet. I was thinking trapezoid. No biggie, but yes, you can find the area of that pentagon and then multiply by the height. How do you find the volume of a figure made up of 2 points or more prisms? Think about that. We just did that. Find the volume of each one using the formula volume equals base times height and add the volumes. Let's try it. Use what you just learned about calculating volume to solve the problem below. Show your work on a separate sheet of paper. Mr. Jones is building the garage shown to the right. What is the volume of the garage? Remember, volume, the amount of space. Okay, can you guys see them? Alright, so take your time. Solve it. When you're done solving it, unpause the video. And then you can check your answer. Well, if you got 891 cubic feet, then you got it correct. Let's break this down. So obviously, I'm going to take this shape and break it down into two solids. The first solid is the rectangular prism. If I take this out, right, just this, then I have the rectangular prism. And maybe I should just draw it. Boom, 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 Boom. Boom. That's the best I can. We got the 12 feet by 9 feet by 7.5 feet. There it is. Okay. And sorry for my art. I'm doing my best here. And now I need to find the volume of that. Remember, it's base times height. And the base is a rectangular prism. Or it's a rectangle, excuse me. This is a rectangular prism. So you got length times width, right? And then times the height. So length, 12 times 9. So volume equals 12 times 9, right? Times 7.5. And when I do this math, I should get 110 feet cubed or cubic feet. So that's the rectangular prism. So let me put the 810 right here. I'm just going to do this feet to the 3rd power. Okay. Now, let me erase this. And now we're looking at the triangular prism. The triangular prism. I'm going to do my best to draw this one. But I'm going to draw it just like this. And then goes ahead, right? So anyways, the base for this we know is 9, right? 9 feet, 9 feet. What do you think the height would be? Okay, remember this is 7.5. This whole thing is 9. So this has to be 1.5 because the difference between this 9, right? See, it says 9 minus 7.5, you get 1.5. And now I'm going to find the area of this triangle. So it's, remember, the volume is base times height, right? The base times height. The area of a triangle is 1/2 times base times height. And then we're going to multiply by the height, which will be 12, right? This whole thing right here will be 12, right? This is that right here, which means it's 12. Okay? So let's do this. Well, I'll leave 12 here. So let's do this out. Volume equals 1/2 times base, which is 9 times 1.5. Okay? That's inside. And then times 12. Alright, now we just got to do the math. 1/2 times 9 is 4.5. 4.5 times 1 1/2 will give me 6.75. And then I take this and I multiply that by 12. And I get 81. Right? So now I have 81 feet cubed. So let me do this. 81 feet cubed for the triangular prism. Okay? So now what do you think we do? Obviously we just add them. 81 feet cubed plus the 110 feet cubed gives us 891 feet cubed or 891 cubic feet. Again, if you're stuck or you're not sure, pause the video. You can always go back and see it again. See how we solved it, again and again, as many times as you need, just to make sure you understand this.